Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of Stuck in the Middle podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Uncle AK.
And I'm Reflex. Welcome. I want to thank you for checking in again. Stuck in the Middle podcast. Please do follow us on all social media platforms. It's SITM Podcast. And subscribe on our YouTube channel. Make sure you turn that alert, on so you get that podcast as soon as it drops. Appreciate everybody who's done that. And screenshots help, Screenshots really help, put the word out there. Definitely want to shout out our sponsor for sponsoring this episode as they do every other episode. Perfect Office Solution, providing affordable, professional, flexible private office spaces. Starting at just $4.99, you get, free Wi-Fi, parking, all that good stuff. You let them know we sent you SITM Podcast. You get 10% off your lease. So if you're an entrepreneur, so just looking for a business place to house your business other than your living room, definitely hit up Perfect Office Solution. You can find out on our website, sitmpodcast.com. We have a special guest in the building.
Special guest, man. This episode's about to be dope.
Hey.
Yeah, man. But now, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest in the building as my man Reflex said.
Yes, sir.
It's none other than Dalton Beckles. He's a motivational speaker, lifestyle coach, author of Leverage to Win, Key Relationships All Men Need to Succeed, a therapist, and the CEO of New Hope Clinical Service, LLC. Ladies and gentlemen, like I said, man, welcome my man, Mr. Beckles, to the building.
Yeah,
welcome to Stuck in the Middle.
Hey, I'm glad to be here. Y'all made that sound real good.
Yeah, man. Got to.
So many layers.
Yeah.
Man.
It's like an onion.
Gotta spice, it's not spicy up. Gotta let the people know, so we drop something on them.
Hey, well, I'm glad to be here, man, and I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Thank you for coming. I knew it was short notice. You know what I mean? And I'm gonna just tell you this real quick. Like we had somebody scheduled for this episode, right?
Yeah.
And then they were like, "Oh man, we stuck." I think it was New Orleans or something.
Yeah, she's been booked since like January.
Yeah, and I was like, man, who we gonna get on? Then I was walking through the office and I stumbled on this book. So I picked it up and I was like, Leverage to Win. What is this about? I looked behind it. And bam, I seen his face right there. I was like, I just did the math. I was like, quick fix.
He put his book in the office?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, man, that's not business right there. I don't care.
Hey, you already get leverage to win anywhere.
I like it.
But before we start, right, there was a tweet you have put out. I'm just going to read it.
Okay.
If what you want only benefits you, then it will eventually lose its value.
Yeah.
If it benefits others, the value would only grow.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And this ties into Leverage to Win. Explain why. I mean, what made you tweet that?
Well, typically I am a very positive person. And everything that I do, I want to make sure that positivity is at the center of it. But there are times when you recognize that what people are doing and what they're going for doesn't always seem to be beneficial to other people, and as a result, it doesn't hold that long of a weight. If everything that you do only benefits you, then there's no growth, there's no longevity. But when it benefits others, other people are eating, other people are growing, and so it literally starts to feed others, and you grow a nation that way. So, and you see it. I mean, you've seen it in leadership. You see it in relationships. You see it in marriages. If everything that you do is just for your benefit, it's gonna lose whatever it is, the value that it had. It's gonna be lost. And so that's where it came from. I started to see that happening in so many different aspects. I seen it, especially in my work, in coaching and consulting. When you start to see everyone, kind of just looking out for themselves, it can tell you very early on how successful that person will be.
So how did you come to that mindset, dude? How did you come to that mind? Yeah, to like, man, like I'm gonna start doing stuff not just for me, but for
for others. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So first of all, there's like 7 answers to that. But the easiest answer I can tell you right now is books. Successful people, they write books, and they tell you about what they do in their books, and a majority of them are always looking to help others benefit from what they have going on, not just like in a selling style, but in a giving style. Like the more you give, literally, the more you give is the more you actually begin to receive, and it makes sense when you see a lot of different authors, and they're giving out knowledge, and they're sharing, and they're telling you their story, and how nobody makes it on their own. They have to do something. They have to share. They have to invest in others. And the more that they actually invest is the more people actually want to support. And so for me, as I'm reading and I'm learning and I'm studying other entrepreneurs and listening to their story and watching them as they grow, I see that they are sharing a lot. They're giving a lot. They're not always looking. It's not always about what you get in return. It's about learning to be a grateful giver. And the more that you give, the more that you share, people start to kind of, it attracts that kind of a positivity. It attracts that type of people around you. And then they start to share and they're starting to give, and it's infectious. And that's why the rich actually stay rich and become richer.
That's facts.
Yeah.
I have a question to that, but before we get to that, you know what I mean, just let the listeners watch us. Those who are watching right now that don't know who Dalton is, who is he?
Honestly, I would say I kind of look at myself through this lens of envision success. If you want to know who I am, just know that I'm a dreamer. The moment I began to dream, for me, the nightmare ended. And I think that's who I am. I am someone who wants to provide hope to the hopeless, or to motivate those who have hope to know that, if you keep pushing, that it will happen. I am probably one of the most realist people I know. And I don't mean real as in, like a gangster. I mean real in open, transparent.
Yeah. OG, real.
Yeah. What it was supposed to be. Just very transparent, very open, very humble. And I love to see others shine. And I think that technically sets me apart. I'm really good clinically. So I went to school, got my bachelor's and my master's in social work. And I'm really good at that. I'm a really good therapist. And I'm not saying that out of arrogance. I'm saying that I know that it's a gift. It wasn't anything, particularly that I would say that I did. I believe that it was a gift that God gave me, and it's my responsibility to do good with it. And so I believe I do a great job. And so as you do that, people want to share. They want to be around you. And so that's where the gift is. That's where the passion is. But it's not just in doing that. It's in being able to kind of share the story to a larger population. So one-on-one is good. One-on-one individual therapy, individual coaching is good. But there's something about being able to reach more than just one person at a time.
That's facts.
So that's, I guess, where the author comes in, and entrepreneurship and dreaming and never giving up on my dream. I do now a presentation called Dreamer's Paradise, where I kind of talk about all of us. Everybody at this table has had a dream, and sometimes dreams shift. They change as you get older, you based on your experiences. But the moment you stop dreaming, your life will start to feel like a nightmare. No matter what happens, you'll be restless, you'll be frustrated, and you'll take it out on the people that are closest to you.
That's facts.
The moment I decided to say, you know what, I got to get back to this dreaming and living a life where I know that I can achieve my dreams, my relationships improved, my communication with my wife just skyrocketed. I became a better father. It's just so much different things have happened. Even for me being able to get to the point where I could leave and start New Hope Clinical Services and doing it full time. All of those things happened because I decided to get back to being a dreamer and chasing that dream.
I always wonder how somebody stops dreaming. I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I'm sure there's somebody out there who's, when do you notice that you stop dreaming? Is it you just, get complacent?
I know you got the answer to this because, you've heard about it, you've seen it firsthand. So.
Yeah.
And you counted in, the first couple chapters in the book.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of people that don't dream. I think that dreams get nipped in the bud very, very early. I think in school, for a lot of kids, dreams got cut short. Nope. Your parents cut dreams real quick. I thought I was going to be the next big basketball player. I thought I was going to be a rapper, all of these things. My mom was like, no, you're not. You're not going to be any of those things. And I'm not saying she wasn't right. She wanted to make sure that I got an education, but when the dream and that ability to be creative is kind of snatched at a young age, then you typically stop dreaming and start to just move into what you call reality. I need to, it's time to step into reality. No, and I don't conform to that anymore, but I sure did, and a lot of people do.
Yeah.
This is your first book?
This is my first book.
Leverage to Win, as you can see right here. Man, how did you come about the title?
Yeah.
That title is powerful.
So
I had to look at what leverage means.
The title was initially tough. I knew what I wanted, and I knew I wanted it to be something about gaining the advantages from your relationships. So what I did was I'm a part of this mastermind group, a few of my buddies and I. And so we get together twice a month to talk about entrepreneurship, all of our plans,
That's really
our goals.
dope. Twice a month consistently.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so we got together, and one of the things was, I'm trying to find a title for the book. I explained what I was trying to do, what the point of the book was, and literally together we stayed in that room and we worked on it till we came out with a title. And then of course I tweaked it a little bit here and there.
Yeah.
But we stayed in that room till we came up with a title. And the toughest part wasn't even the title, to be honest with you. The toughest part was the cover.
I had questions on that cover.
Yeah, and we can definitely talk about it.
I had
So
questions.
the cover was the toughest. So initially, I had about, let's just say I spent about $1,000. And remember, I didn't have money at the time, but I spent about $1,000 trying to find the right, just to find the title, the cover, not even to get it developed, just trying to come up with different ideas, reaching out to different people, people that I knew, and then also on Fiverr, Upwork, reaching out to different talented people to find a cover. Initially, it was a picture of myself, but you have to recognize that during this transition, I had started to work on my health and lose weight, and so every single time I would submit a picture, I would have lost another 20 pounds. So just so you guys know, I lost over 100 pounds since last year, just putting in some serious work. And so my face is probably what changes the most. And so it's just like every time you take a picture, it just continues to look different. So, and then when I saw the pictures on the cover, I was just like, no, it didn't look good. And it had to look good to me. So, it's my cover. So, and I was like, you know what? I'm already going to have a picture on the back,
Yeah.
So let's find something else. So we tried some other ideas. It's really hard to design leverage to win that, in a way that people can understand. But we tried about 5 different covers. I sent it out, like I said, to my mastermind group, shared it with my wife, some personal close friends. And, I wasn't getting a lot of thumbs up on any of them. And it was just like, okay, at this point, let me reach out to some other places. Just so you guys know, it's all about kind of who you know as well. And so a lot of the paid people that I went to for the cover couldn't find any African Americans to put on the cover.
Wow.
I didn't want it to just be one person. I wanted it to be different men. I wanted it to be different men of different cultures, of different races on the cover. And to find a picture like that was tough. What I liked about this picture was the color of the actual picture. And I like that the guy's back is to, you're seeing the back, you're not seeing the front. And of course I got a lot of criticism for having a white man on the cover.
How did that make you feel?
Oh, what do you say to that?
So, I had to deal with it internally before I could ever deal with it externally. So that was a decision that I had to wrestle with. Prayed over it, talked with my wife. And there were a couple of things that came to my mind, to be completely honest. The first one was that as a people, we need to do better about having that type of support and being able to have that. Or even if I couldn't find it out there, that having enough people that I knew that could be able to find it and locate, some men of different races to put on a cover.
Right.
Could you have just taken a picture of somebody, like a friend, somebody from the group or something?
No, it was an idea as well. It was an idea as well. I didn't want to run into that issue on the first book.
Gotcha.
Does that make sense?
Presentation is key.
Yeah, I didn't want to run into that issue. The other thing was that I wanted people, if they couldn't get past the cover and the picture, then they probably didn't need the book.
Yeah. When I looked at it for the first time, it was just, the first thought that came to mind was somebody who's winning. Imagine yourself standing at the top of a high-rise building, and you're looking down and said, damn, how did I get here? You know what I mean? Like, you're going back in time to see how you actually got here. That's what came to my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know about you when you first saw it, but
I had questions that he's already just answered.
And like I told you, it's just so many factors. I'm black. let's just, I'm black. I'm through and through black. I'm married to someone who's black. I love black people. I love my race. There's no question for that. And anybody who knows me knows that. But I also didn't want to play into being so caught up in the cover that it impacted everything about the message.
Yeah.
What had to happen for you to write this book?
What had to happen or what happened?
What happened? What happened? What had to happen?
Yeah. I had to get to a point. I had to get to a place in my life where, if nothing changed, I would die. I always knew that I was going to write. I always knew I was going to write. Just like a lot of people know that there are things that they want to do, and I knew that I was going to write, because let me just paint the picture for you. And I started with this: a dream with no action is a rumor. That's one of my favorite quotes. Because we have a lot of people who have been rumored to, because they talk all the time, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, or I want to do this, I want to do that. Those are rumors. And so I knew that if I had a dream, I needed to chase it, because that's where my happiness is. Happiness is at the end of that, is achieving that dream. And so what I decided was, right now, things couldn't be any worse in my life. I mean, I had a good job. First of all, being a social worker, it's already not a very high paying job. So there has to be some kind of internal reward for you to do it. But outside of that, because I wasn't following my dream, I wasn't following my calling, I wasn't even doing anything that I was passionate about, I was very comfortable. Right? I was in what I would call a comfort zone. Everybody kind of lives there for some period of time where you do just enough to get by, but nothing that's really going to have to push you outside of that. And it wasn't enough anymore. My marriage was very much on the rocks. I don't even know how to explain where it was. I think that I always thought that I was this good guy. I was always a nice guy. I respected women. I didn't have any outside children. I wasn't running the streets. Was going to work, was coming home every single day, but I also wasn't investing in myself. And I think that was the biggest piece that was missing. And so as a result of me not investing in myself, I couldn't invest in my marriage. I couldn't invest in being a parent. I have a daughter at home. I couldn't invest in being a parent. I wasn't investing in my job anymore. I was just doing it, but just giving the bare minimum in all of these different areas. And so I think it all came to a hilt so basically when I got married, and this is in my next book that I'm working on right now. When I got married, right after the honeymoon, my wife and I, we got back to the States, and she wanted a dog. So the very first thing we did together as a married couple was we went and got a dog, and we got this French bulldog. His name is Midnight. We went and got this dog. Now, this is my wife's dog, right? But ultimately, I ended up taking care of the dog.
Of course.
And so me and this dog became like
Buddy.
this.
Yeah.
Like, I genuinely understand man's best friend, because you have to go through, we went through a lot together. And so, when my wife and I would fight, I would be in one room, and here would come Midnight, coming right up next to me, sitting next to me, laying next to me. So, he became almost like that comfort support. And things still weren't going well in the marriage. And January 2017, we're having people over for New Year's, and literally at midnight we look up, everybody's saying Happy New Year, and my wife was like, "Where's Midnight?" And we go around, we're looking for him, like outside. We cannot find this dog. Now, Midnight is is actually the friendliest French bulldog I've ever met in my life. He loves to be around people. He loves to be in like the life of the party. And so with people being around, there's no way he would just up and walk out of the house. It's middle of winter. Cannot find this dog. Now, just recognize that I'm over 100 pounds heavier, and I'm out walking the streets trying to look for this dog at midnight in one of the most dangerous parts of Maryland, in Capitol Heights, and cannot find this dog. And it was just like, okay, everything else is already going wrong. This, like, I can't deal with this right now.
Yeah.
No idea where he is. No idea what happened. And, you start to go through all of the things. You start to think about, okay, what is going on? What is God like? What is going on? And I realized, you know what? I haven't been happy, and it's like God had to take my DOG in order for me to find God, right? And like, so that became the process for me right there. Like, okay, you have to take the one thing that I had left, strip me down to have me finally look at myself and find, okay, where are you? I need to get back to you. And so that right there changed everything for me. That right there was like, okay, if you don't change something, you're going to die. Like, flat out, there's no question about it. There's no thought. If I don't change, if I don't start to get my act together, I'm not going to make it. And so I said, okay, we got to make some changes. And as a clinician, I need to document it. I need to make sure that I document it, because I need to make sure that if I'm going to go through this and I'm going to do this, I need to make sure that I'm helping other people in the long run. And that's where Leverage to Win came from. Because it's not like that I didn't have the tools. We all have the tools. We all have the relationships right now that we need to be successful in following our calling and chasing our dream. And so I said, you know what? Just do it. Let's just go for it. Little small steps. I didn't even start. It's not like I started huge. I literally started taking little small steps. The first step I took was drinking water, right? That was literally the first step I took. I didn't change anything else, but added water to my life. Like making sure I drank a certain amount of bottles of water every single day. Just adding. And so it was about adding positive habits and not worrying about letting go of the negative ones. So as you add these positive habits, so much stuff starts to come to you when you start to do the right thing. So let me give you an example. When you start to add these positive habits, you start to realize that the only person that you're hurting when you're doing the other stuff is yourself, right? And so I recognize as a clinician that we all go through trauma. We all have traumatic experiences. We could sit right up here and we could turn this entire thing into, well, this is what happened to me at this age, and this happened to me in my life, and as a result, I said this or that. So trauma is a part of our lives. It doesn't go away. It's there. 20 years from now, we could have a conversation, and something that happened to you 20 years earlier would still have that emotional effect in your life. Trauma doesn't go away. So it's not the traumatic events that are the issue. It's the habits that we develop as a result of the traumatic events. And so what I was doing with everything that I was dealing with, I started to just intake some really bad habits. Eating all the time, right? Laying down. I wasn't hooping anymore. I wasn't outside anymore. Wasn't even walking midnight. It was just eating, video games, Netflix. Yeah, that's what. And so instead, I said, okay, let me start to incorporate some positive habits. The first one was water. The second one was reading, right? I spent a lot of time playing video games. I love my Xbox. I literally love my Xbox. One of the worst things ever.
It's like
created.
Your second wife, probably.
Yeah. Like scheduled time. Me and my boys would have scheduled time to get on this thing. So just imagine, like, I didn't want to give that up. That wasn't something that wasn't a negotiable thing for me. But when I started to add reading to my life, it became so much fun that I didn't even recognize that I wasn't playing video games anymore. So guess what? I'm not playing video games anymore. My wife is not complaining about the video games anymore, because now my time, she sees me, I'm reading, and not only am I reading, I'm like, oh my goodness, look what I just read. So now we're having conversations that we weren't having before. Then I said, okay, you know what? I need to start exercising, but I can't do much, and I'm not going to kill myself literally, physically. So I'm just going to go for a little walk by myself, and then I'll invite her. I invited my wife, invited my daughter. We just said, well, let's walk up the block. We'll walk back home. So now I'm killing 3 birds with one stone. I'm spending time with my wife, spending time with my daughter, and I'm working on my health. Little small steps to just implementing these things. And so that 15 minutes turns into 30 minutes, and now you guys are having a good time. You're engaging in conversation. Nobody's on phones. Nobody's on social media.
TV.
Nobody's watching Netflix. And so literally those things started to make a shift and a change in my life. And so I had to document it. I wanted to make sure that people understood that this is the journey, this is the process, and you already have the skills. And that's where the relationships come in. Because when I realized I had a dream and I had a goal, and I'll share that with you guys, I said, okay, why is this what I want to do? And I started to think about the relationships and stuff that were going on in my life. And that's where it came from. Like my dad is such an awesome person. My uncles, my cousins, my friends, everybody, like they pour into you, you know, at least if they're positive influences. I mean, they pour into you. It's up to you whether or not you accept it or not. And I had accepted it over time, and then I just got comfortable. So it was time to tap back into it.
Yeah.
That's the key
This
relationships.
book is broken into 4 parts.
Yes.
Fatherhood, father, brotherhood, faith, and the power of love.
Yeah.
How does this all tie into Leverage to Win?
Okay. So, fathers, whether your father was in your life or not, you've learned something. You've learned something. Period. Like you either learn what to do or what not to do. But either way, you learn something. If you know who your father is, there's always lessons that he's gonna pour into you, either by his actions or by his words. Right? If you don't know who your father is, there are still father figures. Somebody out there, of the male, what do you call it? There are males out there that want you to be successful.
Yeah.
Whether it's a teacher, whether it's a coach, uncle, bigger brother, there's somebody out there that wants you to be successful. And if you right now, even if you're listening, if you have read the book and you feel like I've never had that, or you have an opportunity, you can be that for someone. And for the women that are listening, you need to make sure that if the father is not in the home, that you're connecting those kids, not just the boys, but the boys and girls, to a father figure. Because there is somebody out there who wants to see the success of those kids. And so that's where father come in. My father made so many sacrifices for me. And even as a kid, when I didn't understand it, when I was annoyed by it, I look back on it now and I use those things to tap into how I operate with my kids for myself, how I operate with my wife, how I interact with my friends, all as a result of watching and understanding my father. From there, you have your brothers. And so I put brothers in there because no matter what you do, we all have our boys. Like, no matter what, we have our boys. And it's important that you pick and choose who they are very closely. Now, you can learn from everyone, right? And so you always got to be creative and be willing to learn. So you can learn from anyone, but you want to make sure that you also take those positives. People have issues with some of the behaviors that, you know, some of your boys do and how they act, but there's so many lessons in it. Either, you know what, let me not follow that, but I can learn this. And I learned how to talk to girls from my boys. I mean, there's no downside to that. If I didn't know how to talk to girls, I wouldn't be married. So shout out to my boys for that. You know, I learned patience. I learned understanding, and I also learned to be confident. I got a lot of confidence as a kid from my boy. And when I say kid, I mean like up until 22, 25. Like I got a lot of confidence, and until I was able to do it for myself. From there, what's the other one we got? Fathers,
Faith.
Yeah.
faith. Oh man, faith is everything. I believe that there's a spiritual foundation in everything that we do, and that's where the calling comes in. It reminds me of this story, you know, the parable of the three servants and the master and the talents and that they had. Literally, that was one of the first things I thought when I realized that God gave us all gifts. He gave every single one of us gifts, and if I don't use mine, I'm gonna lose it. And that's also not only will I lose it, but that's my connection to God. And so if I'm not tapped into that gift and I'm not using it, then that means I'm missing a part of that relationship. And so that's why faith is so important, because faith is what grows us, it's what strengthens us, and it gives us that added confidence when we're going after this dream that we believe is impossible. And the greatest of all these is love. I believe we do everything for love, whether it's a good love or a bad love. Everything that we do at the end of the day, it taps into love, and love is a part of that sacrifice. And that's where I talk a little about family, and I talk about my mom and my wife. Like their sacrifice and their pouring into me is what makes me the man that I am today. Yeah. And so it's very, very important.
As I read the book, you know, as you read everything, you know, there's different ideas come to mind. You question a lot of things and stuff. And one thing about brotherhood that's you know, that I was questioning was, you know, you said you have to be able to pick your friends wisely. Yeah. How much time does it take to actually pick, you know, your friends? Because as you grow up, things change. You know, you see, okay, this person doesn't add value to my life, so I'm gonna drop him, or I'm gonna get to know this person because they have this, and I'm working towards that. How do you get to make these changes over time? And time being a factor, how do you how do you manage it all? How do you put it all together?
I look at it from value. I look at it definitely from value. If people aren't going up, they can't help you go any higher, right? And I also believe that naturally they start to fade out if you continue to follow the calling. So the two have to go hand in hand. Leverage to win is so important that when you start to do what you're called to do, the right people are always there and they're always supportive of it. And so it's not even like you have to look to make a decision that says, oh, I can't rock with this guy anymore. I mean, that doesn't mean that those situations don't come up, but it's not as difficult as people make it out to be, because when you're living a certain lifestyle, people who don't support it won't be around it. They can't be around it. It doesn't feel good for them. It's unattractive to them. So it's not like it takes a lot of effort from you to make it happen. What you really need to do is be focused on what the goal is and only invite people into achieving that goal if that's something that they desire. That's where the difference is. So like I even talk about in the book, if you're working on a group project, you want to have the right people around you that are gonna help you to get the best grade that you can on that group project.
Yeah.
That's where you're inviting people to be a part of the process. Outside of that, you don't need to invite people into something that don't have that same intent, that same goal, that same drive, that same desire. And I promise you, don't feel bad, because they won't feel bad. They won't want to be around it anyway. And you just have to be able to accept that.
Yeah.
I read a quote that said, I had to cut them off because they gave me the scissors. I don't know where that lands, but
Let's switch gears a little bit.
Yes.
You're the CEO of New Hope Clinical Service LLC.
Yeah.
Man, what's the mission of that? How did you start that? What's its mission, and where is it
going
currently?
So, man, and that is expanding. Initially, I started New Hope Clinical Services because I wanted to do therapy, counseling my way. And my way is very much, I share. Like I told you, I'm very transparent. And so I share. I look at it from my lived experience. And so my lived experience is a little different because as a clinician, as a therapist, you are also learning other people's experience. And so while I may not have gone through it, I've been able to see people process through it, and so be able to provide good insight. And so, that's where I wanted to be. I love being able to work in agencies and to provide mental health services, but I love to also tap into an area where that's always not invited in the kind of workforce. Like I was a clinical director for Pathways to Housing for over 2 years, helping to house the homeless population with severe and persistent mental illness. There isn't a lot of direct clinical therapeutic work in that realm, and there are people who are literally right there, just right there in the middle, who all they need is just somebody like myself, who's envisioning success, who's motivational, and who's understanding to be there. And I'm that person. I don't know any other person. I only know me. And so I needed to open myself up to do that. Like I said, that's part of the calling. And so when you know what the calling is, you open up to it. I knew that I wanted to be a speaker, not a pastor. I knew that I wanted to be a speaker. I knew that I wanted other people to hear the story of hope that I have. And so in order to do that, I needed to have something tangible. That's where the book comes in. And so I get to, I would say maybe 3 to 4 times a year, I go to Maryland, to Baltimore, and I speak to the future business leaders of America through the high schools. I've been blessed to be a part of a couple of different conferences. Like I said, I do Dreamers Paradise. I've been able to do so much more under New Hope Clinical Services than I was able to do under somebody else's business.
Right.
I think that's really, sorry to cut you off, but I just think it's really dope, especially with that name stuck in the middle, getting people out of that.
Yeah.
I just had to.
And just to let you know, so now I'm kind of in the consulting era, because that's another talent that I have with mental health services in of itself. Mental health services, we've seen it literally go up and down. where it's about the consumer, it's about the client, and then it's about the business. And it's just been so difficult and challenging to navigate. And I feel like I've been able to do that with a couple of different agencies. And so that's why I get an opportunity to do some of that work too, because I love consulting. I love helping agencies be able to provide a good quality service, but also make sure that they still get paid to keep the lights on so that they can have people to provide the service. And so it's a little bit of all of those things.
Yeah. In a way, do you feel like you fulfilling your dad's dream? You mentioned in the book he got licenses like such, and wasn't able to because he was working at a job.
Yeah. I think I did. I mean, so my dad is really cool in the sense that he actually doesn't care what I do. What he cares about, and he shares this with anyone, is that that I'm happy, that his children are happy. Like that's what he cares about more than anything.
We need more dads like your dad in the world, man.
Yeah.
Especially African dad.
Yes, speak. Preach. Just kidding.
Yeah. I mean, he's always. I think he's never said this because he doesn't talk like that. But I think he's probably my number one fan. To be completely honest, I think he feels like anything I put my mind to do, I can do, because anything he puts his mind to do, he can do. And yeah, so you don't always recognize it though. And so when you write something like this, it gives people an opportunity to actually sit back and really think about what your dad, what your mom, what sacrifices your family made for you, because they did make sacrifices. It's not always like I am very much past all of the, well, this person didn't do this or this person didn't do that. There's so much that people have done for us that we literally take for granted, that I wanted to stop and say, no, let's stop taking it for granted and let's acknowledge it, because that's the oil, that's the gas that you need to get you to where you want to go.
For those who are watching right now, let's just clarify this. Is this book only for men?
This book is not only for men. Not only is it not only for men, I'll dare to say I get more feedback from women about how helpful the book is, and women actually purchase more copies of the book to give out than men. That was another thing with the cover too. I almost put a woman on the cover because I knew before that, just so you know, black men don't buy books, and that's a general statement, but the reality is it's very rare. It's very rare that we buy books, and so I'm very much encouraging and motivating. I have a good friend of mine, David Pierre-Louis, who is all about reading, and he's encouraging, and we are doing whatever we can to get men invested in reading and to sharing books and to purchasing books. Right. Because we write them, but we just don't buy them. Yeah. I buy books all the time. I just bought Omar Epps' book, and I just started it, and that's another fatherless book, which is another part of my passion is around fatherhood.
Yeah.
But yeah, if a man writes a book, you best to believe I'm going to support it. I support women writing books too.
Got to clear. But because AK was telling me a story. I want to hear it from your mouth. You actually sat in Barnes and Noble for how many hours a day?
No, it wasn't him. I was.
Okay, got you.
It was somebody else.
Okay, got you. Sorry. Yeah.
So a lot of my friends, my mastermind group, they all read. They all purchase books, and so I'm not saying that no men, but when it comes to books and black men, we're not very high on the.
I've gotten into a very dark place now where I'm collecting books. I'm trying to break out of there.
I was there.
I used to. Yeah.
Well, you collect them. Do you read them though?
I just love how my library looks, bro.
It looks good, doesn't it?
But I've fallen off of my reading list for the year.
Yeah, and everywhere. So. I mean, if I ever leave anything anywhere, I your closing remarks, that type of thing, it is always fall in love with reading. I'm encouraging everyone to read, because all the answers to life, to success, is in a book.
Yeah,
everything that you need to know is in a book. Every single answer.
I have a question though, regarding reading, because you could read all you want, but if you're not actually taking what you read and put it in perspective, say in your life, that takes away from reading.
Yeah.
So,
wait. First of all, information drives transformation, period. So I don't know if something is always happening when you read.
They say information is key.
Yeah.
But to me, the key is what you do with the information.
Yes.
Because you could collect it and let it collect dust on the your
Yes.
brain or whichever.
Like me right
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But if you don't work on them, like how
Yeah.
do you want to change? All this to say, the first chapter about fatherhood.
your
It's a topic that we as men need to keep having.
Yeah.
Because there are people who don't know who the fathers are. You know what I mean? But they still do the right thing. For example, LeBron James, he never had a father figure, but look at him now as a dad. And then you go to the other side of the room, there's that one person who say, "Oh man, I don't know who my father is. Forget that dude,
Right.
and he's just acting all, random and his brain is not intact." Just to say that it shouldn't be an excuse, to hate a father figure.
Right.
It shouldn't be an excuse to go out there and find a father figure for yourself if you didn't have one.
Right.
And if you have one, take the time to learn the good, the bad, and ugly, and also make decisions for yourself.
Yeah.
That's what I got from the book. Like literally reading it, I'm gonna definitely read this book again because I see value in it,
Yeah.
and I think it's gonna propel me to a different height. I know I said all that, but
But it's, I mean, but it's real. I mean, it sometimes it just takes a spark. It takes the right book, but it is rare that there are people who read books just to read books and nothing changes. That would be very, very, very rare. It may not be the outcome that I expect or somebody else will expect, but even if it shifts and changes one conversation, it's a spark. And we've got to learn to celebrate the sparks, right? If you're somebody who's trying to learn how to create fire without using a lighter, right? And so you got these two sticks and you're rubbing them together. A spark will ignite something much more than no spark at all. And so we have to learn to celebrate even just a simple spark.
What is success to you?
Happiness in all avenues, not just I'm happy today. I mean, there are things that I actually want, and there's nothing wrong with that. And so success is being able to have what I want, right? I want a successful marriage. I want to be a great father. I want to be a speaker. I want to be able to go on vacation whenever I want to. And so for me, that's very particular. I write down every single thing of what success looks like. It's making $185,000 a year. It's at least 3 vacations a year. It's going to Hawaii with my wife in 2020, April of 2020. It's happening. So like all of those things to me are what success is. It's having a dream and not stopping till I achieve it.
for those who dream big, because they say if your dreams are not big enough, if your dreams aren't scary, then they're not big enough.
Yeah.
I have a big dream, right? And it scares me to the point where I don't even know where to start. So for those who dream like me, what are the necessary steps to take to realize this dream?
So do you write? So I'm big on documentation on writing. I knew that ultimately my goal was to be sitting here like I am with you guys, right? So I put that at the top, almost like a vision board, but not quite. I put at the top what it was, and then I started to just document the steps backwards on what I felt like it would take for me to get there. Does that make sense? So let's say you want to become the next Oprah, the male version, right?
Yeah.
That's at the top. What do you need to do in order to become there, and just work your way backwards? And
Got it. Yeah, got it.
Complete transparency. I knew that I wanted to be a speaker. I knew I wanted to be an author, right? But I also knew that there were things that I needed to do. I can't go and talk to people about relationships and be a speaker and be a counselor and not have a good relationship at home. So, although that's the goal, home has to happen first. I can't be a speaker and then not be able to make it to the front of the stadium or the stage because I'm out of breath. I can't barely talk. So I needed to exercise. I can't be a father, be someone who talks about fathers, but not have a good, healthy relationship with my own children. I needed to do those things. So literally, how do I become a better father? How do I become a better husband? How do I lose weight? And I started to literally just start to plan out every single thing, step by step, moment by moment. Okay, this is what I'm going to do next. I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm going to encourage myself. I'm going to let other people know what my goals are. I'm going to post it, which was very scary to do. All right. If you go on my social media now, you have to scroll way down. you'll see a video of me jumping rope. There are certain things that I love to do, and so whatever I love to do is what I do. I used to love boxing as a kid, so I went and got a little punching bag. I love jumping rope, love it. So I went and got a jump rope. I don't know if you've seen the Nutty Professor, but I literally looked like Professor Clump, like when he was on the jumping the little thing, and he was just having a good time. But that was me on a jump rope every day, and posting that transition. And as a result, you should see the messages I started to get. While I may be thinking I'm looking a certain way, what people were seeing was a success. They're seeing the vision, and now they're supporting it. Now I'm encouraging other people who, whether they look like me or not, now they want to work out. Now they're saying, "Hey, where'd you get that jump rope? Can I get a jump rope? What are you doing? How are you doing this? Like, I'm so proud of you." And now they're motivated. So like, I promise you, to me, that's leverage. Now I have accountability and I have a nation. I got a whole team of people who are standing right behind me, encouraging me, sending me messages, and then looking forward to messages from me, looking forward to those videos. Even now, so now I don't post as many videos because I literally have just so much more other stuff to do. And people are like, "Hey man, I missed those videos. I missed that encouragement. I missed that support." And so I'm telling you, no matter, I personally say, if your dream seems like a long shot, right, then just become a sniper. And that's what I say. And what that means is, a sniper doesn't just start shooting, shooting all over the place. Like, oh, no, they're very strategic. Everything is thought out, well planned, even down to their breathing, how they choose to breathe. And so for me, if my dream is a long shot, then that means there's some stuff that I need to work on. I'm going to become a sniper, because when I hit that target, and best believe I'm going to hit that target, it won't be by mistake.
Man, that's a dope part. Man, I'm definitely. I was borrowing AK's copy, but appreciate you signing.
Copy, man.
Give me a copy and signed. What I mean? Appreciate.
Don't worry,
that.
my wife was working on my
handwriting.
Yeah,
It's a signature.
It's terrible.
You mentioned you're working on a second book right now.
Yeah.
When do we expect that?
Probably 2019. So there's two things. I got an ebook that I'm working on called Quotes to Live By. I love writing quotes. I post quotes as much as possible.
Original?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And so I love quotes. When I think of one, I write them down. I like to be really put into that thought, because I don't just post it for other people. It's for me. It's my encouragement. It's my motivation. So I make sure that if it's something that inspired me, then I'll share it. If it didn't inspire me, I'm not going to share it. And so I'm working on that. It'll be Quotes to Live By, and it'll be about 20 to 30 different, almost like a daily devotional of success, of different quotes that I've used that have helped me, and a little story that goes along with each quote. Like I said, the moment I dared to dream, the nightmare ended, right? And so there'll be a little story about how that relates and how you can do the same thing and get people to dream, believe, act, and then achieve. So that's coming out this year. The ebook is this year. Next year is Waiting for Midnight.
How can people, follow you, stay in contact, stay in connection?
Yeah. There's some, of course, social media is Dalton Beckles, Facebook, LinkedIn. I spend most of my time on Twitter. I know people love Instagram, but Twitter to me is probably the best place to be for like-minded people who are dreamers, who are entrepreneurs, and who are, really motivated to see something different. To me, Twitter is the place to be. And I recognize Instagram is up there, but I love Twitter. So you can always find me on Twitter. I respond much quicker on Twitter as well. And then, of course, Dalton at newhopeclinical.com is my email. I put it all in the book because like I said, one thing that would be different, hopefully that will be different with me, is that I am not afraid to answer any questions. Like, I'm not afraid. And I think that I have to be mindful that God has given me this gift as a therapist, that, reading this, that's the other thing that happens. People, anybody can write a book. People write books, people write things, and they don't always give you a good answer. I have the clinical background. I have the clinical experience to be able to provide answers to some very challenging questions that come out as a result of the book. And so, please, feel free to reach out. I have my website, daltontbeckles.com, or newhopeclinical.com for my websites. And let's chop it up with anyone. Yeah.
Yes, sir. Hey, appreciate you for coming through.
Man,
kicking it
I'm
with
glad
us.
to be
Leverage
here,
to
man.
win.
Leverage
Definitely
to win.
can't wait to dig in and start leveraging up. Sierra said level up.
And take advantage of the books in the back too. So I make sure that I didn't just put, you can read my book, but even if nothing else, there are so many different books that I've read in the past that are also back there. Some of them that I even go back to now, like Think and Grow Rich. I mean, I probably mention that every single time because it's just a good book for us. And I'm talking about Think and Grow Rich, a black choice. Let me make sure a black choice. Dennis Kimbrough is phenomenal. So both books, Think and Grow Rich, both of them are great books. But guess what? There's a book for us, and it's called A Black Choice, and it's phenomenal. Learning to understand and see our people and how we have succeeded and how we have triumphed. It's a great book. And Pound of Stone is another good book. I love it
man,
for the
list keep going
motivation.
on.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start one at a time, so I don't. But yeah, appreciate you coming through, kicking it with us, bro.
Man,
yeah, hope you come
Absolutely.
back. Second book,
Absolutely.
and with the clinics and everything, update us with everything you
Yeah,
got
for
going
sure.
on. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And definitely follow us on social media as well. And same with following Beckles, and that's SITM podcast. And you want to say something?
No,
Oh, okay,
I'm
nah, I
with
thought
you.
yeah.
I'm with you.
And definitely email us. SITM podcast 237 is the email if you got questions, concerns, and refers. We guys would love to hear from you. Okay, bro, who we got coming next week?
Next week we got Tasha McCormick. She's a blogger, dreamer, and creator and the CEO of Chronicle Fearless.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Dope.
man.
Yeah, that's dope.
Man, pay some bills, man. The sponsorship. Man.
yeah, definitely got to shout out Perfect Office. And
That-
definitely go check them out. Let them know we sent you. SITM Podcast, Perfect Office Solution. Get you an office space, and let us know how you like it. Yeah, we'd love to hear that. Shout out to everybody who's done that too, and I'd love to shout out everybody, but we're gonna be here for forever.
Yeah.
This is Stuck in the Middle podcast.
And we out.
Yes, sir.